earlier as well. But this session is absolutely special. It is very special for me, especially because I'm an ardent devotee of Lord Krishna. And I try to live by the principles which had been enumerated in Bhagavad Gita. So I do a lot of sessions, but let me reiterate that this session is very, very important and very, very special for me. What I think is that, as many times as I get to read Bhagavad Gita or I get to think about it, we all know that if we take the present literary context of Bhagavad Gita, we know that it is set in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where there is Arjuna, who is despondent, in great despair, in great misery, and Lord Krishna, as one of the greatest teacher, is actually trying to motivate and inspire him. So we all know the context. But very important and very significant is the fact that it is extremely a symbolic context. So for all of us, those who are there in some field or the other, and who are matured enough to understand that this is a symbolic representation of what we go through in our daily lives, where Arjuna is symbolic of all of us, for all human beings. And where Kurukshetra, the battlefield, is actually symbolic of our lives and the struggles, and in fact, the daily transactions, the daily struggles that we go through. So Kurukshetra is symbolic of that. And the outcome of our life, the outcome of those battles, the outcome of those daily struggles is actually in the form of dualities. Dualities in the sense, it is either loss or gain, it's either victory or defeat, it's either happiness or sorrow. Now, Krishna, as the greatest facilitator, as the greatest leader, teacher, guru, mentor, whatever you say, or whatever you, in whichever terms you interpret him, is actually trying to tell all of us through Arjuna, through the symbolic Arjuna, is that we all are in fact much bigger and much greater than our immediate sorrows, our immediate confusions, our immediate dilemmas and disillusionments, despair and misery that we happen to go through. The problem is that the human mind is enmeshed with the, with the immediacy of sorrow and despondency. And we feel that it's so very difficult for us to evolve out of that. So through Krishna, all kinds of leaders were working in diverse fields. We all know that, we cannot call ourselves as leaders in any which manner or any which ways unless we have that calmness of mind, unless we have that clarity, unless we have that vision, or we also have that mental equipoise to understand that, yes, things come and go. Nothing is permanent, just like our breath. Even our breath, if you consider, we breathe in, we breathe out, even that is also not permanent. Similarly, the happiness, the misery, the sorrow, life, death, everything that we encounter, it is also impermanent. It's not here to stay. So this is, for me, I think it's a very, very vital lesson. And I try to remind myself about it every now and then, whenever, sometimes I also feel, distracted a bit. I try to, channelize myself by reminding myself of all these basic principles, even in terms of success and failure. So it is said that you have to treat both success and failure in the same manner. Why? Because both actually distracts us. It is not only failure, it is also success, which distracts us. If it goes into our head, you cannot do anything, apart from that. So success and failure both are, one of the greatest distractors. And we have to be very, very mindful about that. Also, I would like to say that one of the greatest lessons that I have actually imbibed from Bhagavad Gita is how to lead a mindful life. We all know the importance of mindfulness in the sense that we know that In a single day, we have more than 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, you know. And out of that, more than 90% of our thoughts are actually negative. You know why? Because either we are thinking about our past or we are thinking about our future. So when we are thinking about our past, we are actually thinking about the associated, you know, guilt, shame, what we have not been able to do, something that we have missed or whatever, you know, but the feeling is not very good. And when you're thinking about the future, you're constantly ruminating about what could happen, the fear, the anxiety, the depression, but hardly we get to think about the gift that we have in the present moment. So that is the lesson in mindfulness. Either you are a professional or you are a leader or you are a parent. You have to be mindful. You have to be mindful at each and every point in your life. If you have to really relish, if you have to cherish what life is all about. And that is one of the greatest teachings that Lord Krishna is actually teaching us through Bhagavad Gita, that mindfulness is the key to live a happy and fulfilling life. Also added with mindfulness, I would also like to state upon mind management, which is not only for the leaders, but it's for, you know, for each one of us. We need to manage our mind in the sense we need to have a true knowledge of our own selves. Easier said than done, but the basic fact that once we start realizing, maybe through mindfulness and through daily meditation, or by active consciousness, or through, you know, active spiritual practices, it can come in any which ways, through any which channel, any kind of channel. Once we are able to understand that we are not our names, we are not our designations, we are not our titles, our careers, our roles, our education, our degrees, not even our thoughts and our emotions that we're feeling right now. So we are none of these. We are actually pure soul, you know, which is very much an integral part of that great supreme soul, the Paramatma. So once we get to understand that we are an integral part of Paramatma, so everything that is possible for him is actually possible for us through his divine grace and his divine benediction. And each and every characteristic that he has, we also have within us. Maybe that is not manifested, but that is very much there in us. So once we get to realize these essential qualities, I think life takes a complete U-turn and life takes a complete twist, and we start living life in the true sense of the term. And we can actually control, we can actually regulate, we can manage our mind. And in fact, in Gita, it is said that your mind can be your best friend, your mind can be your greatest enemy. So decide, it depends on you how you're treating your mind as. Even I would just like to, you know, take 2 minutes, and I would just like to state that a very recent experience of mine where I went, you know, into one of the classes. I was actually teaching emotional intelligence to the teacher trainees. You know, as the director of School of Education, my students are actually the ones who are the teacher trainees and the students who come to us to pursue their research and PhD in education. So I was actually teaching emotional intelligence to them. Again, a particular you know, aspect which is very much neglected in our current education system, but very, very important. So when I was actually telling them about the 5 aspects of emotional intelligence, that we need to be self-aware, we need to have that self-regulation, we need to have that intrinsic motivation, empathy, and the social relationship skills. I mean, it was, you know, when I was teaching them, it just came as a kind of a happy reminder to me. I mean, I'm not telling them anything which is not there in Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Bhagavad Gita has enumerated these aspects in a wonderful manner. The problem is that we are unable to extract the golden nuggets from this asset of ours. Also, additionally, I would like to state something that I also try to follow in my life is that I try to consciously, see a lot of things around me and the divinity around me, in the sense that it often happens with us, whether we say it or we don't. Whenever we see somebody, maybe from our own profession or maybe from some other profession, doing exceptionally well, accomplishments, accolades, and all those things, sometimes we feel jealous, sometimes we feel disappointed, sometimes we feel underconfident about ourselves. But once we start to realize that whether it's me or you or the people around me or the entire humanity at large, whatever they are doing, whatever extra bit they are doing, the X factor which is responsible for their success in their lives is actually a reason of that divine grace. It's because of that divinity that he's able to do that. Then maybe, we start gaining that inspiration out of that particular act, rather than being disappointed and being jealous of somebody who is doing better than us. So this has helped me in my life. This is straight from my own experience I can share. Also, lastly, before I conclude, I would just like to say that, being from the education field, I would like to say that I'm extremely disappointed with the current education system, the way our education system, happens, and it's still there. Our current education system, we know that our histories have changed, our geographies have changed, but sadly enough, and unfortunately, our education system is still the same. It is still the byproduct of the 19th century industrial revolution, which treats all the young learners as essentially the finished product of a redundant and a conservative and orthodox educational system. Our current education system teaches us everything about the external physical world. It teaches us about our history, our geography, physics, chemistry, management, business, what not. But it doesn't teach us about our inner reality. It doesn't teach us about ourselves. It doesn't teach us about the enormous and the potential, limitless power that is there in our own selves. And sadly enough, because of that, we are not able to understand that our inner reality actually influences our external reality. So whatever is there in our external reality is actually a reflection of what we are going through within. So just because there is no symmetry between external and internal reality, which has been caused by our education system, we are facing this problem. Unless this issue is resolved, we'll continue to face this problem. We'll continue to focus on everything that is external to us and nothing that is internal and valid within us. And lastly, no discussion